Three, two, one. Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Hanging with Janky. It is the new dawn of a new year, friends, and I am back again with Hanging with Janky for episode 90. Oh, we are so close to 100. 10 episodes away, and I will be doing better than most TV sitcoms. Fun fact, most TV sitcoms don't make it to episode 100, and I am doing better than them. Ha ha! Self-produced internet content can suck at sitcoms. I don't know where I was going with that sentence. Let's move on to actual gaming news, shall we? Alright, so back again with gaming news, and the first story I want to share with you guys today comes from Bloodborne. I know there's at least one Bloodborne fan out there whose name starts with W, rhymes with Trisky, and you will probably be happy to know that some data miners found some previously cut content from the game, which you can now play. Allow me to explain. So this story comes to us from a YouTuber known as Zuli the Witch, who is both an avid Bloodborne player and a diver into the files behind video games. And in their diving, Zuli managed to find something really cool, a couple of glyphs that can get you into some unaccessible areas. Unaccessible? Inaccessible? Words. Where are my words? Two bosses that aren't in the actual game, along with the dungeons with them, that you can play using this code that Zuli found. Now, it is worth noting that these are untested, buggy, unfinished boss fights and dungeons and whatever. Really, it's just for the sake of, if you're a really huge fan of Bloodborne and you really want to play these levels, you can, and that's super cool. The one is called the Moon Presence, and the other one is called Great One Beast, a werewolf monster, and the Moon Presence is like a giant, evil, eldritch horror thing. It's actually really cool, and you can look up the videos online because Zuli has made videos of fighting both of these monsters. It's pretty awesome. Now, me personally, I never got into like Dark Souls or Bloodborne or any of those games. Not because I don't appreciate them. I do, and I love a hard game. And I think that it's really interesting that those games kind of force you to focus on something specific, right? You can't be a jack of all trades in Bloodborne or Dark Souls. You have to specify what you want to be and then work to achieve that goal, which I think is super cool. It's just, I don't know. They're long games and they're grueling, and it's just, I just never got into it. But if it's something that you're into, then this is totally something for you to check out because you would probably be super into it. And plus it's just cool to see behind the scenes and what may have been in the game and what significance it might have had, and just all that cool behind the scenes stuff. The next story I have for you guys comes from Japan and a particular Legend of Zelda character known as Tingle and his ripened balloon trip of love. So for those of you unfamiliar with this particular Legend of Zelda side character, Tingle is a strange little man who dresses like an elf person, all in green, and he has a clock, and he's very hard to describe because he's just a curious and weird little dude. Anyway, in spite of his strangeness, and probably in fact because of it, he has gotten a couple of spin-off games all to himself. One of which actually got ported over here from Japan, but one of which did not. The one that did not was called Ripened Tingle's Balloon Trip of Love. It's like a weird Wizard of Oz parody, and recently got a fan-made translation so you can play it for yourself. I have absolutely no interest in playing this game, or knowing what it's about, or figuring it out, because it just looks like a weird anime dating simulator thing that focuses on Tingle, and I'm just not a fan of that because Tingle's just, I don't even know. I don't know how to describe Tingle. He's helpful, but he's just Anyway, part of the reason that I want to share this story with you guys is because it brings up another point that I want to talk about, which is Legend of Zelda and how it's celebrating a butt ton of anniversaries this year, and how I will also be celebrating the anniversaries along with Legend of Zelda Because of course I will. Windwaker is celebrating, so is Ocarina of Time, Link's Awakening. I'm pretty sure one of the original games is celebrating something. Tons of celebrations. It will be magical and amazing, and we'll all celebrate together and it'll be great. And I'm excited. So there's that too. Legend of Zelda. So this next story is super duper interesting. There is a French-based company known as Blade who wants to bring you the perfect gaming cloud PC. So what does that mean, you ask? Well, okay, so I'm sure you guys know that there are a lot of services out there, particularly in recent years, that have been about streaming games. For example, the PlayStation Live Store. So you basically buy a subscription, and then instead of just having a physical copy of the game or a digital download of the game, you actually stream the game to your PlayStation and play it. Obviously, this has been met with like some issues, right? Particularly like lag, and so like the inputs lag, and it kind of sucks. And there have been a lot of companies that have like started it, and then it just kind of like fizzled out. So of course, we're gonna take this story with a grain of salt, but the concept of it is really cool. So this company, Blade, like I said, is a French-based company. They've actually been operating in Europe for a few years now, and actually have been very successful in their business, which is not only streaming you games, but also streaming you a PC to play them on. So I'm sure, as you guys know, especially if you watch a lot of gaming YouTubers, a lot of us have like really nice gaming rigs, like really nice gaming PCs. I say us, of course, I don't have my own personal gaming PC. I just use a gaming laptop, and you know what, that suits my business just fine. But there are a lot of really highly specialized gaming rigs out there, and they're super nice, but the problem with them is that eventually it gets to a point where you have to update them. So you have to get like the latest graphics card, the latest driver, all of those things to make the computer continue to function properly. And so what's really interesting about Blade is they want to bring you that really awesome computer, but they want to stream it to you as a virtual PC. Okay, so again, what does that mean, like streaming you a computer? Well, basically what it boils down to is that they have this system that they call Shadow. And for us users at home, what it would entail is you would buy this thing called a Shadow box, which is basically what all of the inputs run through for your game, right? And what this Shadow box does is it not only sends you the game, but it sends you the PC to play it on. So this thing, it basically functions as this super powered computer. Actually, let me just like tell you about it, okay? Because that's a lot easier than me trying to like describe it in the abstract. So the Shadow platform currently offers a full PC running Windows 10 Home on an Intel Xenon CPU featuring 4 cores and 8 processing threads with 12 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage, as well as the approximate equivalent of a GeForce GTX 1080 with 16 gigabytes of video memory. Now, obviously, if you're not into computer speak, which really I'm not into that much computer speak either, that probably sounds like nonsense. But what it boils down to is that's a very nice gaming PC. That's like the best Intel processor. Like 8 processing threads is like crazy processing speed, and GeForce GTX 1080 is one of the best graphics cards you can get. And you can play on it virtually, which is cool. If you would like to try this for yourself, actually, Blade is taking signups right now for Shadow from American customers for the first time. But only for residents of California. I'm sorry, that was misleading. I didn't read the whole paragraph. I'm sorry. But the reason for it is actually because Blade obviously needs really powerful data centers in order to make this work. Because of course, if you're streaming not only games, but the actual PC itself, that takes a lot of processing power and a lot of data and all of those things. So they need really big data hubs. And of course, California with Silicon Valley, they are one of the biggest data hubs in the country. So that is where Shadow is currently being based out of, and where Blade is starting their tests here in America. I think the concept is really cool, but I do think that you kind of do have to take it with a grain of salt, like I said at the beginning of this, right? Because the biggest thing, and one of the things that I noticed reading the article here on Polygon, based on like the writer's experience with Blade, and like they were playing Rise of the Tomb Raider, but he said he noticed lag, you know, between his inputs and what Laura was doing on screen. And he didn't actually get a chance to get into combat, but of course that would also translate over into any combat you did, which means that could kind of suck if you were playing a combat heavy game and trying to stream it. And it's understandable, because of course if you're trying to stream both the PC and the game, that's going to take a lot of power. Not to mention that they were playing in New York and they had to bounce it from California in order to do it. But if you have really crappy internet or a really crappy connection, this would probably suck for you. But if you were in a place where you can get like some real nice like fiber optics or something, this could be a really cool concept. And I'm just interested to keep track of it and see where it goes. But if you want to check it out for yourself, like I said, the company is called Blade. The project is called Shadow. And if you Google those two things, I'm sure that you can find it very easily. And hey, if you live in California and you want to try it, just to see what it's about, they're taking signups, so check it out. And the last story that I want to share with you guys today comes from the World Health Organization and their classification of gaming disorder. So when I say classification of gaming disorder, that's a little too far along in the process for where they actually are. Basically, the World Health Organization recently released a first rough draft definition of what they consider to be gaming disorder. Now, this has been a debate for a couple years, actually, because I've read about it before, where basically some psychologists say, you know, video games are video games, and really the World Health Organization is just being pressured into like classifying gaming disorder so that people can make laws about video games, because really there aren't that many laws on the books about video games or streaming or gaming on YouTube or anything like that, right? Now, of course, the World Health Organization is just like, look, we're not being pressured. We just think that this is something that we should talk about. So let's talk about it. For me personally, I understand where the World Health Organization is coming from, right? I also understand people who are just like, look, don't just be classifying things to like say that they exist, because I do think that there are a lot of things that, you know, we classify today as like a disorder or something like that, and it's not really, or like people get diagnosed with something that they don't necessarily have. It's just like they just need to work through some stuff. That's not to say that I don't think that some people have something that probably could be classified as gaming disorder. I think the big thing to remember is just, you know, it's an addictive thing, right? So as long as you are able to like play a game and then put it down and be able to function in the rest of your life, like as long as you're not like missing work to play video games, or as long as you're not like flaking out on important family events so that you can play video games or whatever, right? That's what's really important. As long as you are able to keep perspective on your life, then I don't think that you should be diagnosed with video game disorder. Not saying that you will be, but I'm just saying I think that the people who probably should be diagnosed with gaming disorder, if it ever became a thing, are the people who just like completely ignore the rest of their lives because they play video games. Which there are some people out there who are like that. And for those people, I would say, you know, that's probably the person who like maybe needs to talk with someone about it and figure some stuff out. And that's just kind of my 2 cents on the whole gaming disorder thing. But I'd love to hear what you think too. So if you made it through that whole rambling thing, I would love to hear what you think about gaming disorder. So feel free to leave that in the comments down below. A little bit of intrigue for you. What do you think? What are your thoughts? Let me know. And that's what I got. And of course, we'll round out the week as we always do by thanking new subscribers to the channel. But there are none. We're 336 members of the Janky Squad, which is super duper cool. At the end of last year, we were at 337, so technically we actually lost one. But I think last time I recorded Hanging with Janky, I said 334 because a whole bunch of people subscribed between now and that. The point is, there are 336 members of the Janky Squad. Thank you all so much, by the way, for being a part of the Janky Squad. I'm so glad to have so many of you here. I'm so glad that you watch and you enjoy the content, and I hope that you continue to enjoy it throughout 2018. I hope that we continue to be awesome together throughout 2018, and I hope that we get some new people aboard, and we expand the squad numbers. And I got some exciting stuff coming up for you guys, hopefully, and I'll be sharing that with you as the week progresses, hopefully. So, good stuff. Thank you all for being here. Love you all. So, a couple more announcements before I wrap up the show. I know I didn't do video game releases today. That's because I just didn't look up what was coming out in January. But also because of what's coming out next week, which is part B, I'm going to PAX South. So there won't be a Hanging with Janky next week, unfortunately, because I will be away at PAX South. But whenever I come back, I'll put together a vlog which will serve as the Hanging with Janky for that weekend, about me being at PAX South, doing PAX South things, and at the same time, I will talk about all of the sweet games that I saw at PAX South, and that will be the perfect time to talk about all the video games coming out this month. So that's my plans for the future. Other than that, that is all I have for this week's Hanging with Janky. So, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to leave a like down below. Comments, positive or negative, feel free to leave those below as well. But more than anything, I hope you have a lovely day, evening, or whenever you happen to be watching. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next time, this is Janky Shenanigans, signing out.